Welcome back. This time we're talking about Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales, the fifth film in Disney's highly profitable and, for the most part, highly entertaining franchise. Now, like with my review of Alien Covenant last week, I want to start with a brief discussion of the films that came before, because I think how you liked particular movies will give you a good idea on whether or not you're going to enjoy this one. In the case of the Pirates of the Caribbean films, I have found, albeit with a very small sample size, that people who did not particularly enjoy the third film in the franchise, At World's End, tended to enjoy the fourth film, On Stranger Tides, a lot more. And the inverse seemed to be true as well. Those who really enjoyed At World's End did not find as much to enjoy with On Stranger Tides. And I find myself in the latter of those two categories. I really enjoyed the third film. I will freely admit that has a very convoluted plot. Not everything lines up exactly, I think, the way the writers were hoping it would. But that was a film I thoroughly enjoyed. I cannot say the same thing about On Stranger Tides. I found that to be a particularly flawed film as far as the script goes, and I thought there was too much emphasis on Captain Jack, and it did not provide enough interesting characters around him to really carry it on to the end like the previous films did. So with that in mind, let's move to this latest film, Dead Men Tell No Tales, which is directed by Joachim Roning and Espen Sandberg, who are probably best known for their 2012 film Kon-Tiki. The story picks up 5 years after the end of On Stranger Tides and finds Captain Jack Sparrow, once again played by Johnny Depp, in somewhat of a rut. He's still not been able to rescue the Black Pearl from its ship-in-a-bottle prison, and his few remaining crew members are just about fed up with not actually gaining any treasure. And to make matters worse for Jack, he's being pursued by a vengeful ghost by the name of Captain Salazar, played by Javier Bardem. Jack, in his very early days as a pirate, was responsible for the death of Salazar and his crew, and Salazar wants revenge even if he has to accomplish that from beyond the grave. But Jack is not going to have to face these dangers alone, even though his crew is ready to mutiny once again. We're going to have a few returning faces, including Geoffrey Rush as Captain Barbossa, as well as some new ones, including actor Brenton Thwaites, I have no idea how to pronounce that last name, who plays Henry Turner, the son of Will Turner and Elizabeth Swann from the original trilogy. And Kea Scodelario, who plays Karina, a woman who believes in science and does not believe in the mystical, which, considering she's in a Pirates of the Caribbean film, is not the greatest attitude to have. Together, they're going to be searching for the lost trident of Poseidon, who fably has the ability to break any curse of the sea. So like with a lot of the previous films, there's a bunch of people, good, bad, and relatively neutral, who are all searching for the same MacGuffin. In this case, it's the lost trident of Poseidon. And thus we have our movie. Now, as I said, I was not a big fan of On Stranger Tides. I just recently watched all 4 previous films before going to see this one, and I do have to say that film is enjoyable. I do have problems, however, with the script. There's a lot of character inconsistencies as far as characters not really acting consistently throughout the movie, as well as whether you want to call them plot holes or what. But like this film, that was another instance where a lot of various groups were hunting for the same thing. And a number of the people in several of those groups somehow ended up knowing things that they had no right knowing. And there just was a lot of things that didn't make sense with that script and brought the whole thing down a little bit more. My other issue with that film, as I mentioned earlier, is that it relied much more so on Jack and his story than the previous installments. Obviously, Jack Sparrow is an important part of all of these films. He's one of the biggest draws. But as far as the story goes, especially with the first 3, although his plot threads were definitely integral to the overall story, his parts of the film mostly served as catalyst to get everyone else's stories going. We enjoyed Jack's scenes, but at least for me, cared more about Will and Elizabeth, and that was something that On Stranger Tides seemed to struggle with. And fortunately, this film has some better, or at least more compelling, side characters. Where it does suffer is sort of in the same realm as Dead Man's Chest, as well as On Stranger Tides, where you have a bunch of people basically searching for the same thing. So the first third or so of the movie is basically getting everyone actually searching for that item. And in differing degrees, they have relied on a lot of coincidence. That could be said for, again, Dead Man's Chest, as well as On Stranger Tides. But I don't know until this one if it felt so coincidental that you have all of these various people basically in the same place, just happening to be searching for the same thing right when certain things need to be happening. Usually, at least in the previous films, they did a better job of explaining why certain things were happening when they were happening. Here it really felt coincidental and kind of hurt the overall impact of that first third because it just felt forced. Another issue I had with it is that whole setup lasts a really long time. It really takes a while for the actual journey to begin. There's a lot of false steps as various characters bungle different things, and we have that sort of madcap action and swashbuckling scenes that we love, and if you're fans of these series, you enjoy. But it really felt like it was dragging for quite a while before the actual search happened. And surprisingly enough, this is actually the shortest of any of the films. It's 2 hours, 12 minutes. The original film was 2:16, I believe. Dead Man's Chest was 2:30. At World's End was the longest at 2:40. I don't really remember exactly where On Stranger Tides falls in, but I want to say it was around 2:15 or so. So there's less film here, so by the time this journey actually begins, the journey itself, and especially the resolution at the end, felt very rushed. That's one thing I really can't say as a negative on any of the previous films, that they allowed the final confrontation to really take all the time it needed. Here, it felt almost anticlimactic, and it didn't really work for me. Some of the things I did like about the movie, though, was I did enjoy the tie back more so to the first three films and some of the storylines that were left, not necessarily open, but where there was room to play with. And that was actually one of my biggest concerns going into this film, was that they were going to meddle too much and kind of butcher the memory of those stories. I can say here, they were respectful to the stories that had been laid out and added to it. It's not something it was absolutely necessary, but it didn't hurt the other films. Something else I wasn't a huge fan of in this film, Jack has always been a character who kind of bumbles through things at times, but is sort of that drunken master where he really knows what he's doing, even though it doesn't make any sense. That was actually something they played up quite a bit in On Stranger Tides for some good comedic effect with his banter with Barbossa. Here, we find Jack in probably the lowest point we've seen him in this franchise so far, and a beaten Jack, especially as we see him in this film, is just not as enjoyable as the bumbling drunken master Jack that we've gotten in all the previous films. It was a version of the character I just didn't get as much enjoyment out of. The new characters are all right. Javier Bardem, obviously, he plays villains to a T. He does that again here. His character is relatively one note. He's out for revenge, and he wants to kill Jack, and that's basically what what his entire character arc is in this film. So overall, I'll say I would find, as far as a flaw for flaws, this was an improvement over on Stranger Tides. It's not a perfect script. It's definitely an uneven as far as the pacing goes, but it does not have those very obvious and distracting plot holes where characters know things they really shouldn't. They do know things, and they are where they are due to a lot of coincidences. And that's another script issue that I'm not a fan of, but I'll take coincidences over blatant errors. So we get that rise there. I did enjoy the surrounding characters around Jack more so in this film than I did in the previous one. As far as villains go, we definitely have a one-note villain. I'd say it's about on par with Blackbeard. That was another villain that just I never really could latch onto as just a compelling villain. So overall, this is a film I did not enjoy as much at all compared to the first three. I did find it a better overall film than the fourth one, and if you're a fan of the series, it's definitely worth checking out. It's definitely not a bad movie. It just sort of is there. And that's why I kind of started my review with the preface of, if you liked On Stranger Tides, I think you're going to like this one just as much. If that was a film you did not particularly like, this is similar. So that I think is your best gauge on how much you're going to enjoy this first one. Like I said, it's a flawed film, but it's not a bad film. It's just not a great one either. It is just the sort of average Pirates of the Caribbean movie. So if you've seen this film, what did you think about it, and what did your opinions of the previous ones? As always, you can subscribe to my channel, check out some other reviews, and until next time, I'll see you at the movies.